start this finance committee meeting, call to order. This is 5:35. We have a few items for discussion this evening. We hope to be able to get across it quickly. So, item number one is the call to order. We have number two, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to do that?
Second.
So moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Any oppositions? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Consent agenda 1 and 2. Do we have a motion? So moved and
Second.
seconded, and all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any oppositions? The ayes have it. We have 5 contracts tonight. We're going to go into it in that order. I just want to caution that the agenda that is being distributed is the backside. The one we have here is in line, but what you have there is like the first item you see there is the last one. So just to let you know. All right. So we're gonna go with the E-rate basic maintenance.
I'm going to talk about the first two, actually, both E-rate basic maintenance and E-rate internal connections. I'm Molly Hannon. I'm the director of purchasing for the district.
Okay.
So I'm going to start just by talking about the E-rate program a little bit more broadly for folks who may not be familiar with it. So this applies to both of the next two, basic maintenance and internal connections. So the E-rate program is administered by the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. What it does is it serves to make telecommunications and information services more affordable for schools and libraries, and it does that by essentially subsidizing it with federal dollars. So the rate that we get is dependent on the poverty level of the district. Across the country, it varies from 20% to 90%. Here in Providence, we get a discount rate of 85%. So that's kind of the background on E-rate more broadly, and I'll talk about basic maintenance and internal connections separately since they are two separate contracts. So for the basic maintenance one, which is the first one, we are seeking approval for a contract with Custom Computer Specialists in the amount not to exceed $579,500. So going back to that kind of discount, that's the full 100%. 85% of that figure will be paid by the federal government, so that's $492,000, and we match with 15% local contribution. So what we would pay is roughly $86,000. And basic maintenance is kind of exactly what it sounds like. So this money would serve to maintain our network infrastructure across our schools and our district buildings. In large part, this is technical support of folks who are custom computer specialist employees, but they are located here in our school buildings all day, every day, doing maintenance to our network infrastructure across all schools. I'm happy to take questions about E-rate or basic maintenance.
Well, basic maintenance is, what current systems do we currently have that leads like the tracking and accountability, like keeping all of that data, performance and accountability?
I don't know about tracking and accountability, but this is maintenance of like making sure that the school's Wi-Fi is up and running, like that sort of access to broadband, those sort of things is what it's really focused on doing. I don't know about.
I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's talking about the job description. What do we currently have that sort of maintenance is sort of all of those programs that you listed?
So this will be the 26th year of E-rate. We are currently in year 25. So we're currently in a contract actually with Custom Computer Specialists. I believe this year's contract is $550,000. It's the same thing. So this is our current vendor who is providing services. We're looking through a new solicitation, we're looking to enter into another contract with them for the same services, maintaining our network infrastructure.
So it's just going to be this sort of maintenance, which is E-rate, nothing else added on, or okay.
The schools are kind of built off of the cycle, so it's not like every school every year. So it's like 8 schools, maybe.
This one is every school. The next one is 8 schools every year. Scott's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, no question.
Come on, Scott.
Yes, I was actually gonna thank God you brought that in because I see that this one is blank 579,000, and the other one that has 8 schools. I was wondering why. What's the purpose? I think you answered that question. So
So the basic maintenance isn't assigned to any specific school. It's about, I rated this in the bid. What's included here in this 579 is approximately 3,500 engineering hours and 3,000 technician hours. Just if one of our schools is having trouble with Wi-Fi, we're drawing down from that bank of engineering hours via custom computer specialists to go into that school and do basic maintenance to make sure that it's continuing to function. So you can almost think of it as kind of like an on-call as needed for issues that may come up related to our network infrastructure in many of the schools.
Do we have those engineers actually working in the schools, or does it?
They're located here, right? So I believe we have 2 people who are here and they're deployed out into schools as needed, but they have like a desk here at 797.
So we have, and they're the ones that deal with sort of all of the technical kind of, not all of the technical, but sort of what's listed in here. Is that correct?
Yeah, and they're
Two
working,
people?
I believe it's 2 people. They are working all day, every day with our full-time technology staff who are PPSD employees on the same and similar issues.
and from my understanding, this is as and when needed. So that's why it's not broken down, the 579.
That's correct.
So what happens if we don't spend up to this or we spend more than that? How do we put out?
We only pay for services that are rendered. So if we don't have any issues, we don't pay for it, right? If we go more, this is the max of our federal match, is that 85%. I assume we would cover the difference as needed, either by our own staff fixing those issues because they're not contracted, or increasing our local share.
Okay.
Is there, this is probably getting off the rails, is there a concern as it pertains to when people reach out to IT, them being responsive, or are they not even responding?
I mean, I can only speak from my own experience on that. I've never heard anything. I don't hear that that's a concern. I mean, for both of these E-rate contracts, the discount from the federal government makes this basically a no-brainer for the district, that for our $86,000 contribution, we get 6,500 technical hours on our, helping to ensure that our infrastructure is good so that students and teachers and everybody in schools are able to do what they need to do, technology-wise. Yeah.
I think I'm getting off the rails. The reason why I said that was because I heard that there's only 2 individuals that work within that department that is responsible for over 40 schools. I want to know, are they sort of drained? And this has nothing to do with this, but are they drained out? I have no concerns for them with the capacity that they have, because we have over thousands of teachers and staff that work here. So I think that's just sort of off the rail that I just wanted to just put out there.
Sorry, I don't want to get confused. There are our own IT staff that are computer technicians as well within the IT department.
So what's this staff going to be doing?
Those are the contracted staff
Contractors.
that's paid for through the E-rate program.
Okay.
That help
As a
with- that are
supplement.
network engineers,
Okay.
And who would they be working with?
the IT department.
The IT department. Okay, so it's added on to the IT. Yeah,
Correct.
Got it. Okay, makes a lot of sense. President Santel, you think
I was just wondering if I'm allowed to ask a question.
You are allowed.
Yeah.
You may not vote, but you are allowed.
Yeah. That's true. I'm not here. One of my questions is included. 2 questions, mostly unrelated to one another. One is, you said that this is a company we've contracted with before, and one of the problems we have sometimes with some of our larger contracts is there aren't enough entities to really meaningfully bid competitively. And so I'm just curious, did we have several, and how we historically had other bids?
That's a really good question. Those sorts of questions as a procurement person. So they were the only bidder this year. We had, part of this work is mandatory site visits, going to every single school building. It's like multiple days that Brian Wilson and Peter Santos take vendors around. We did have 2 vendors, one being custom computer specialist and one other, who went to those site visits, and only custom computer specialists submitted a bid. I think last year we had 3 bids.
Okay, so some.
So historically, yes, we have
We
had
have,
multiple
okay.
bidders.
And then my other question is probably more out of ignorance than anything else. So these folks are maintaining the systems, but they're not sort of helping us make decisions about upgrade or changing the systems. That's more our own IT folks that do that.
My understanding is that's more our own IT folks, and the next E-rate contract gets into improvements to our network infrastructure.
Right, thank you.
I think that the next
Yeah.
contract will help you show the schools and replacement project to switches and routers and everything. My technical hat on, because I don't have.
Me either.
Nor do I. Thank you.
So before I ask for a motion to pass this, I have just one question, and I think I'm cognizant of money. So this money now, how does it work in the sense that, so if we have a bill now, if we have, say the tech guys had to go to something, is that at that time that is invoiced, or we already have this money? Because I can understand the pressure that we need to get this before we lose it.
Yeah.
So is that money in our coffers once we pass this, or it has to be pay as you go, meaning that we have to wait for the service to be performed before we can realize our 85% from the government, or how does it work?
I can probably answer some of that. So, if I understand the question, the school department does not lay out $500,000, just using round numbers.
Mhm.
We only are on the hook for the 15%.
Correct.
Of that.
Mm.
So we don't have to put out that change and wait for it back from the federal government. The
Mm.
federal government pays
To reimburse.
the vendor directly.
Okay.
We are only on the hook for the $80,000 from our, we pay them directly.
Oh, okay.
That money is not paid to us by the federal government.
Okay.
The vendor is gonna,
The
correct me if
vendors
I'm
will-
wrong, the vendor's gonna invoice,
Mhm.
we pay 15% of that, and the federal government pays 85%.
So that's what I mean by
Yeah.
pay as you
Yes.
go,
Yes.
as needed.
Mhm.
So it's not, okay. I was
Yes.
thinking the money's gonna come to us and we can do whatever we want to do with it and all that, so. All right, I quite get that. Does anybody have another question? All right, in the absence of no question, can we recommend this for passage on the 15th? So moved.
Second.
Second, and all in favor? Aye. Any oppositions, any abstentions, the ayes carry. So, Ms. Molly, the next one?
The next one. So the
A
next one
double
is
one.
also part of the same E-rate program. This one is internal connections. Again, we're looking to contract with custom computer specialists, this time for a total amount not to exceed $1,128,194.92. So this one is the actual replacement and improvements to internal connections. So it's not just keeping the systems running, it is making replacements and improvements. There are 8 schools that have work that are going to have work done included in this 1 million. So if you flip to the last page of the summary, it outlines the 8 schools here. So you've got Messer, Fogarty, Pleasant View, and Vesey in the elementary school space, Nathaniel Green and Roger Williams middle schools, and Alvarez and Juanita Sanchez in the high school space. So this is going to work the same way, right? So we're going to pay 15%, which is about $170,000, and the federal government through the FCC is going to pay the other 85%, which is $958,000. And this is where the E-rate program is incredible, because this is just not work that we could perform with this dollar value without the support of the federal government for this. So they're carrying 85% of the funding for improvements to our network infrastructure in these 8 schools. And to Dr. Santow's question, that list of 8 schools is determined by our PPSD staff here based on the age and the quality of the current network equipment across all of our schools. So happy to take any questions about this one as well.
Which answers my question about how did we come to choose these 8 schools? And I think based on the age and the quality of the, okay.
Yeah, I want to speak for the IT department, but it's a whole plan that has to be submitted for the E-rate program
Mm.
on the cycle of replacements for these devices. So each school, each each device is on a cycle of replacement. And that's what has to be submitted out of, I think Molly said it was a year
26.
26.
So if we are in the 25th year to the 26th, why did we mark this contract as new?
The
What is the
FCC
criteria?
requires that every year we issue a fresh solicitation and welcome anyone who is able to bid. So it is a new contract. It's not an extension of any previous contract.
That's why we marked it as new. So over the years, will you rate the performance of custom computers specialist? How will you rate?
My sense is that our tech team is very satisfied with custom computer specialists. I think even like our own staff maybe don't know sometimes that they're interacting with folks who are contracted through custom computer specialists. They think they're PBSD employees and they behave as such.
I would have seen, I mean, it would have been good if we have something like the track record, like,
Yeah.
you know, but we don't have it here. So how can we, I mean, I mean, I'm not doubting your recommendation. It's just like if we have been using something for 25 years, they should have like, you know, some track records that we can visibly see rather than, is any,
I don't know that there's anything in place for this contract necessarily. It's not that I'm aware of. I only know anecdotally that we've been satisfied with them.
does everybody have any question? So I would be interested in getting some feedback from them. You know, which will like, you know, it's not in terms of satisfaction, fine, but if there's any complaint, if there's anything, you know, room for improvement, it will only help the district so that they will continue to do the right thing at the right time. Thank you. So other than that, do I have a motion for passage?
Motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Aye. Any opposition, any abstentions? The ayes carry. Thank you so much. So we look forward to getting that so that we can tell the boss next week about it. So we're moving on to the next one. It's that one.
Okay, good evening. I'm Herman James. I'm Chief Talent Officer for the Department of Human Resources here with Providence Public School District. For those of you who haven't met me, great to meet you. And certainly I would like to recommend that the Providence School Board approve the contract with National Center for Grow Your Own program for Providence Public School District. It is a Grow Your Own Teacher Apprenticeship program. In the amount not to exceed $450,000. The first part of that is the design of the program from February 2023 until June 2023 for $300,000, and then supporting the launch and implementation of the program from July 2023 to June 2024 for $150,000. This Grow Your Own program will support the school district with certainly prioritizing our staffing needs for the district, taking a look at an alternative pathway to build our teacher candidate pools and to fill vacancies within the district. The program will provide support and development opportunities for candidates such as our teacher assistants, volunteers, substitutes, and also those individuals who may be college graduates but not teacher education graduates and wish to become a teacher. This would be an alternative pathway for them to become certified and work with PPSD. This contract will also, or this program will also address the following: persistent teacher shortages, linguistic and racial mismatch between our teachers and students within PPSD, and also the misalignment between teacher preparation and district level needs. So this vendor will certainly support our efforts in ensuring that we have well-prepared teachers in front of our students. It will just not be an alternative pathway, but certainly working with our education prep programs with colleges and universities to prepare our teachers and provide that support and development that's necessary for these alternative certified candidates. So we ask that you certainly approve this contract this evening.
Thank you so much, sir. May I first ask, why did we skip the younger?
Can we come back to that one? Is that okay?
I didn't dare stop Herman from going.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Very
No.
excited about it.
It's fine. I just want to be sure.
I apologize.
No.
I thought Bonnie had covered all the
Sorry.
first three.
No,
I
no
took
worries.
too long. It was just two.
He's really hungry.
I am starving, Scott.
No. That's okay. I just want to be sure that you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
We're good.
But thank you so much for that. We can't even have you to retract it because we enjoy that. I personally enjoy that.
You have to do it all over again.
No, you don't have to do that. Any questions?
So I think we have a contract, a bunch of contracts, I'm assuming, as it pertains to sort of recruitment and a lot of what this is saying. So what separates this? Because I think it's a Teach for Like America or something, some contract that we have. What separates that contract from this contract, and why do you think we need to like sort of bring this addition to the district as well?
So this is a grow your own program that I'm very excited about because it helps us to identify and target individuals or candidates from various paths within our organization. As I indicated, we can look at our teacher assistants, substitutes. We can look at volunteers. We can go into colleges and universities and folks who have math degrees and science degrees, and we can target those candidates for our program. Whereas TFA and others are out identifying and recruiting, as you know, from the Ivy League colleges and universities, and they're certainly channeling those folks. And we may get them because TFA is a national program. We may get those candidates coming to PPSD, we may not. And in our I would say our results for TFA recently has been not as good and not as strong as we would want them to be. So we're certainly reevaluating that for next year to see if that's something that's a viable program for us to continue here in PPSD. But I think growing your own and identifying your own, those could be students who graduated from PPSD who are now in colleges or universities. Or folks who have other jobs and positions but may want to be a teacher, may not have the funds to go back to college and get that education degree. We can target those individuals, bring them into our Grow Your Own program, have them to go through our EPP program, our educational prep program, and at the same time have them to teach with us while they're certainly getting that degree. And this will provide support, development and support through the educational programs and providers for those individuals.
I love you. I'm going to push back a little bit on this contract. The reason I say that is because I don't see too much of a difference, and I wish that you was here to bring this contract forth before, because this contract not only saves the district a lot of money than TFA does, but it kind of sort of goes a little bit deeper, I think, into the woods of having us sort of grow our own staff within the district. Now, I don't know the ins and outs. I did read a little bit of the TFA contract, well, a lot of it, but I know the ins and outs of it. But I know that this right here sort of is cheaper because we passed I think it was over $1 million in TFA, I think it was a couple months ago. I would be a little bit shaken up from approving another contract, knowing that we just spent over $1 million on it. But I would like to hear my team first talk a little bit about it, and then we can go from there.
Is it possible for me to speak?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. I wasn't asked to speak, but I just want to share a little bit. TFA is a great program for what it does. Students there's an application process, and people who are in TFA, they have college degrees. What we've noticed in the time that I've been here is that a lot of educators of color particularly don't necessarily always have the information and know how to access TFA. And so the whole idea of growing your own actually has been an idea that rooted in this district 10 years ago. We haven't really pursued it. Rhode Island, particularly Providence, is a very unique place. We have a lot of students who have graduated from our high schools and from our colleges, and they're working in the mall, they're working in different places. That's not a bad thing, but so many of them, when I asked them if they would love to give back as teachers or one day leave our schools, they say yes, but they don't know how to do it. And then we have a lot of high school students who don't get the opportunity, don't understand how to access education as a profession. And so what the research has shown is when you grow your own, you actually have a better opportunity for retention. You have an opportunity really to recruit educators of color, women, males. We have a lack of males in our profession, especially in this district. So TFAs, I don't think it's bad to have TFA, but I do think that we really need to start looking at the capital we have in this district, the number of students we're graduating, the number of eighth graders right now who are trying to figure out what they're going to do. If we're able to start even bringing it back to eighth grade, you see some of the things we already have in place. We have a teacher academy at Mount Pleasant. We're trying to grow another one in another high school. If we have a program like this, we can start to really cultivate those students all the way through and really push them to come back and serve in our district. I think it'll fill a lot of things. It'll fill the void that we have for educators of color. Also, your retention rates are better. People who you grow tend to stay with you. In the terms of TFA, we have had some success, but oftentimes, you notice that those who go through TFA, after 3 years, 4 or 5 years, they end up going back to wherever they originally came from, or they move on to maybe the suburbs. But when you grow your own, research nationally shows that you're able to really hold on to those folks, and it really does change the dynamics of the district. So this worked.
No, absolutely, and I definitely agree, and I'll let President Santow go right after. I definitely agree with everything you said, and those are the same sort of concerns about TFA that I had when approving the contract or getting ready to sort of approve it. Was sort of, we have TFA that's supposed to build our sort of teacher population or whatever we may sort of use. We have that there, but we see sort of a decline in teachers coming to the district, leaving the district. So it's not really useful. And then also educators of color also isn't useful. So that was just sort of a concern that I had to TFA. I do like what this contract has to offer. I think the only thing I was saying was if we sort of approve something like TFA, not TFA, this contract is sort of like that, but I do understand sort of the difference because this focuses in more on sort of growing the district. Now, and I'll let you go, and then after you can answer it after if you would like to, I want to know how will the process be laid out with this contract as it pertains to recruiting, as it pertains to people that are probably interested in coming back to the district, because I just go there. Like, how would that sort of process go for people that are interested?
So the first part of this contract is the vendor will certainly work with PPSD and also work with RIDE to certainly design that program. So all of those questions are not yet answered, Mr. Stevens. But what we're hoping, because this company is a national move across the nation. They've done this work with a lot of other school districts and similar to PPSD in many states across 20 plus states across the country. That they would help and work with us because there's a lot more work that needs to be done if we're truly going to have a grow your own program. It's working in many states where I just came from, the state of Maryland, where you have to grow your own program. A lot of work with the state education department. You have to make sure certification pieces are there, making sure all your EPPs are in place, those providers to provide that support. And then the recruitment and targeting. And what I like about this particular vendor is that they prioritize our educators of color. They prioritize the special needs and special population teachers that we need for those areas. So that's one good thing that we will have here in PPSD in developing that design or that model that we need to take. So the vendors to design it first. We need someone to come in and help design it, working with RIDE, working with PPSD, working with our local colleges and universities to provide that program for us. Once the design is in place, we don't have a problem coming back and sharing that with the school board as to what that design looks like, so that then we can launch it and then begin that recruitment strategy and bringing those folks on board. And the number of folks we'll be able to bring on board within this contract.
So say the school board was to pass it, but I don't think we have a meeting on the books yet, but say we was to pass it next week, how soon will RIDE and PPSD be working with this contract? Because is this contract a year contract
Yes.
for approval? How soon will we be working on it, and then how soon will they be implementing working to sort of with sort of like the colleges and bringing in people and getting people?
So the design work will start now. Once it's approved, once it's approved, we will start that work immediately. with the design of it. And then that's from now until the end of pretty much this year, June of this year. And then we will then begin to work with the launching and implementation of it for the following year.
Got it.
Okay.
I just have one quick comment and one quick question. I mean, one of the, I understand, Sarah, because I've always been a little skeptical about Teach for America for a variety of different reasons that we don't need to go into here, but I think long-term, ideally, this would sort of sunset that, I think, at least to a certain extent, or we can use TFA for folks who are in specialties we desperately need, right? Math and science, TFA is really good for that. But the virtue of bringing folks up from our own community here, of course, as Dr. Onier said, is they will stay. TFA folks often don't. They also know our kids. They know our community. They have some loyalty to the district. So I think it's great that we're thinking about doing this. My question is, this is not a credit granting entity, right? So those who apply already have to have a bachelor's degree. So you can't give an associate's, for example. You can't do it. Do we have, this is a different question, not about this contract, but I know like College Unbound has a TABA program that's trying to get people up that next rung on the ladder to the point that they could perhaps do this. Are we contemplating moving it back a little bit in the pipeline to do that as well, or work with College Unbound?
So I can share with you that we do have a proposal now in mind. It's a TA apprenticeship program. So we're all working to see how we can get our teacher assistants up to having the associate's or bachelor's degree, and also, the Para-Pro in order to be eligible to take over. So we have that apprenticeship program. That's a proposal to rise to certainly support us with that. I know money's involved at this point, or as far as the contract is concerned, but certainly we have that proposal that rise. We hope to hear back in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
You have a question, sir?
I just have a comment. I'm just reading here saying that we're gonna be through this program we're gonna be providing trainings to teachers. I just wanna to say that to remind that we are also serving a lot of the refugee population, a lot of the refugee youth. We need to make sure there's some kind of training around cultural autonomy, so they have a way to work with these kids.
Appreciate that. And certainly, that's exactly what we have in this contract. It's certainly to get that training and support for all teachers to work with. And I think I'm hearing your question correctly. Work with all cultural and demographics. Absolutely.
Do their undergraduate degrees have to come from an American university? But if we have folks coming from abroad,
Not necessarily. They can come from other countries. We just have to have those transcripts, reviewed, of course. Absolutely.
Molly, if you remember, sorry, this is going a little bit back. If you remember when TFA goes back out for bid, can you please remind me? Okay.
It'll have to come back to this group before we're doing it. So it would probably be like March or April that we would be back thinking about that renewal. I think it was, and Herman would know better, I think it was $500,000 this year. Was the amount, because I think it was 50 teachers, but yes, I've got it in my noggin.
Okay. I just want, because the reason why I'm saying it, I just don't see a lot of results through that contract, but we're not talking about that contract. We'll talk about it when the time comes.
And Mr. Stevens, we're doing the same thing. We're evaluating that contract, and we're evaluating what they provide us as results. Okay, so that's what
we need historic data on this. I mean, not just what happened on the last contract, but we actually need them to come back. I know that we're not talking about that now, but we need sort of a sense of longitudinal data. That's kind of what we need to know whether it's really working.
Correct.
So, on my own part, I have a comment, I have a request, and I have a question. I love this program. That's my first comment. And I remember that when Richard Palumbo was the advisor, he was very ambitious, especially on this program. We actually met with Brown University, one of the folks at Brown University, to provide something like this. We even went to the extent of having the mentorship program because I believe this program is going to work with people outside. But I think we call it CTY, catch them young. We don't even have to wait till they finish high school before we start preparing them. What if when they are in high school? Many people, they don't want to be teachers because they think there's no reward for teachers. They think, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be all these things. But if we're able to bring them the virtues of it, at that time, what we're trying to set up is mentorship program, which and Brown University was willing to sign up to that. A mentorship program that brings the value of teaching. Because I think it is because people are not aware of what are the values, what are the advantages of teaching. And one thing that actually brought me into the board is I was a teacher and I'm a teacher and I love teaching. But you see, you have to have the passion for it. And sometimes when you don't have the know-how, somebody must have to tell you, this is the value, what you're missing. And if we wait till after they finish high school before we start putting them in there, we may be a little bit late in letting them realize that. Unfortunately, that program did not see the light of the day because of the changes and inconsistencies in the handlers of the program. It will have been, in fact, Brown was willing to partner with PPSD and provide services, but unfortunately. But now that we're having this, I'm just like, oh, thank God that we're thinking along this line. This is a beautiful program. I'm not going to write TFA off. The reason why I won't write them off is like they are as needed. This is a project into the future. This, we may not start realizing this one until the 3 years or 4 years time. So if we write off TFA, we can't get everything we want next year. We have to realize that we really need to like start doing this right now so that we're not going to get a result now. But I'm very certain that we will get results over the time. That's my comment. That my request is this. Please bring the board on, school board. I mean, I don't mind having an input, just attending the meetings when you're planning the design and everything. I am ready because I believe in this. I believe this is what is lacking in our system. That's why we're struggling every year. Oh, we need teachers, we need teachers. I think if we bring this program into play and we implement it efficiently or effectively, we don't get more than the result we need. We will be just contracting and sending teachers across to other schools, other districts. But we have to do it right. And please bring us along. We're willing. I'm just saying about myself, and I know I'm not alone. And I hope I spend more time on the board. I will really want to see this successful.
Yes, sir.
That is my request. My question, I think I get the answer to it in terms of the $300,000 for 4 months and $150,000 for the whole year. So the reason why we are spending double is because this is the design stage, right?
Correct.
So in the design stage, we tend to spend more, but in the implementation stage, we don't spend as much. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Because I was going to ask that question, that why are you spending double, but I think after reading this, I see that. So those are my comments. And also another question I like to ask is this company that is providing this, we need to have the track record of what they've done. You're just telling us that they did something in 20 states. How successful have they been?
Absolutely.
How can we merge that? How can we look at that with the dynamics of our own unique district? I think it will help us a lot in making decisions that this is we need for the good of it. So I don't see it here, and that's why I'm asking for it.
So we have that information that we can certainly provide that. Right, Monty, we can provide that information to you, which certainly speaks to this vendor and what they've done and the 20 states and the school districts and how successful it's been. So
Okay.
we have that data, absolutely.
That would be excellent because we can take this out and if there's some adjustments that we can make that will tailor that to our district need, if we have to reach out the community and all that, if we know this, we have this information to help us a lot. But I love this. I don't like it. I love it.
Great. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, can we please make sure, I hate the way I say it, I'm trying to be nice with saying, I'm not trying, but can we make sure that we please, when coming up with contracts like this, that we have the information of the success rate?
Exactly.
Because we always ask it, you guys say, oh, we'll send it to you guys after. You guys do, but it'd be better just to have it here so we're not.
Correct. So I agree with you.
But I'll make a motion to deny it. No, I'm playing. I'll make a motion to approve this contract.
Don't forget you're online.
Oops. I retract my statement.
So do we have a motion
Motion.
to, so moved?
Second.
Come on.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any oppositions and abstentions, the ayes carry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you on that,
Absolutely.
to making it a
Yes, sir.
success. So we're moving on to the Yonder. Let's go back to the Yonder program. Who is giving us that?
Hello, good evening. My name
Oh,
is
okay.
Scott Sutherland, Chief of Staff. I'm here to recommend the second approval of the Yonder Pouch Program. It was previously approved for
Nathaniel.
Dr. Sermons at Nathaniel Green. He says it's shown some great success. He shared that at a middle school principals meeting with all the other middle school principals, and they all wanted to participate in the program as well. They brought it back to their school improvement teams. And the school improvement teams are excited to participate in the program as well. This contract would allow Nathaniel Green to expand the program through June of 2024 and allow the other schools to come on board at this time.
Any question?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Scott.
No problems.
I love you. I'm always coming at you as well. I wasn't here, and if I was in fact here, I would have probably backed off from approving that the Nathaniel Green and they sort of had it. So I'm not a big fan of it. But if it's working, I would like to visit Nathaniel Green in the coming days or weeks to see the actual results before I approve it. Now I can approve it, but before the next school board meeting, I would like to at least have a visit in the school to see how effective this actually is before approving this contract before the full board meeting. But you can go ahead.
Are we thinking to have any of this in high schools?
Currently, it was supposed to be a middle school pilot this year, and everybody loves it. So the students, the parents, the show, and you can talk to Dr. Service. He's out sick today, but yeah, sure. I think I like the idea of approving it, and then going to build off what you were saying.
I know high school's that'd be tough. Let's stick with the middle schools first. High school will be tough unless Ms. Onye is implementing it. But I feel comfortable with doing that. I was a bit against it. If it's working, I would like to see it. And then if in fact that's correct, then hey, let's approve it.
I am so excited that I stood for it. I know it took us like 3 meetings to go over this. And hearing that 8 schools now want to copy it, thank God. That because we almost rejected it.
You can have all the credit.
Yeah, I know. I don't even need the credit. I just feel happy, that because when things come and what we do is like I believe that when we try and we fail, our problem is temporary. But if we fail to try, our problem is permanent. And that is what is happening with this one right now. I would have loved if we have one of those schools where it's working, that Nathaniel, somebody come to this meeting, or we can invite them to the next meeting, please.
I will make sure that you're able to go out to the school. But we just want to try to get all those order it this year. We're going to try to pilot it.
Okay.
Full blown for next year.
And you said all of the middle school principals now want it.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Scott, we
I'm
are
gonna
going to have
ask.
a meeting next Wednesday. I don't know if any of those principals want to
Exactly.
come to public comment.
Please.
They're welcome to.
We will appreciate that.
All right, it'll be Dr. Sermons, and he was going to come tonight, and he's also sick. So
Okay. I pray that it gets better.
me too.
I'll do some outreach to the other ones.
Yeah.
I believe you. Just want to say.
So
I'll make the motion.
that's what I'm glad you're making the motion right now.
Now,
No, I'm just excited that do you have a second that before we
No, let him
And
talk
you
first.
seconded.
Wait a
Oh,
second.
you have something to say? I'm sorry. Because he just make
I'm
motion,
sorry.
you didn't let
I'm
us
sorry.
get all the
I'm sorry,
comments, all the
Chair.
questions. The president is here, you didn't even let him talk before you make the motion. All right, go ahead,
I
please.
believe you already answered my question.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Sandra.
No, the only reason, I just wanted to say, the only reason I'm even asking questions is that our agenda for the board meeting next Wednesday is gonna be packed, and these are all the questions that I would ask at that meeting, so
Okay.
now we all get to go to bed a little earlier on Wednesday. So, no, I have nothing else to say.
All right. So we're going back to the motion made by,
Wait, I was thinking about something.
okay,
Okay, I lost my train of thought.
okay.
I think we can approve it. I want to go visit one of the schools. You can walk with me in the school, Mr. Sutherland, coming days so you can see.
I would love to visit.
So, but let's make the motion and approve it right now. And we take it from there. I think that's more important.
I just want to make sure, because I don't want no parents calling, Tyrell, at that meeting, you approved this and I'm mad. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can make the motion.
Motion.
So moved. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions, any oppositions, the ayes carried. Thank you so much for that. So the last contract for the day, I believe, Dr. Onion,
Yes, good evening.
over to you.
So before you have a contract for our principals, additional training for our principals and assistant principals. So earlier in the year, I brought a contract before you. Right, 5 practices of equity-focused leadership, and I believe I gave each of you a text. And the work is continuing. We're layering some of that work with a very specific focus for administrators around individual and institutional racism, racist systems, and how those systems actually impact schools and decision-making around budgeting, scheduling, curriculum, even how we approach students, talk with students, structures we have in schools, how do those mentalities or behaviors actually affect our schools, and how can administrators with a really strong skill set and a foundational knowledge use that knowledge to actually help their leadership as they transform their schools. So this Commadre Speakers Collaborative Contract proposes is a proposal for a guest speaker, facilitator to come and have a deeper look around that work for our assistant principals in March, and then for our principals in April. And then Dr. Gooden will be coming back in June to follow up with the principals and assistant principals.
Interesting. I don't have the detail of this contract yet.
Contract is it?
It's on a turn page.
But I don't think it's in this folder. Because, yeah,
It's on
but
the
it's, I think I saw it.
Do I need to print it?
No. We can always,
You're good.
no, don't worry. We can take a look at this. Can you go through it? So give us a few seconds to.
So what you have in front of you is a Commadre Speakers Collaborative. We're having Debbie Urban, who's a noted author and speaker, and she's going to be focusing her work for about 3 hours around institutional racism, individual racism, how that affects schools, students, what the work is for principals and school leaders in schools to help support the work at schools with that understanding and knowledge, and giving them some tools and resources they can use to help support students and families as they transform their schools. So this is just another layering over the work that we've already started with the equity-focused leadership. It's just getting a different perspective from a different facilitator to help support that work. The goal for this work, just so you know, is it continues next year. So we're going to do some deeper work in the summer and then next fall as well. This year is an awareness year, since this is new for administrators. I came on late, if you remember. When I arrived, a lot of balls were already in motion. So what I've tried to do is bring folks on that can start this work with the principals and assistant principals using the structures we have, which are the school leadership academies. So they're coming in for 3 hours to work with APs for 2 days, because we split the APs up. There's so many of them. We don't want them all out of school at the same time. And then they will come and work with the principals in April. So it's a contract for 3 days of work with all of our school leaders.
Can get no cheaper? No, I'm playing. I'm just joking, Ms.
I'm
O'Day.
a TJ Maxx shopper. I looked, but she's the best, she's an expert in her field, and so that's her.
Did you say 3 days or 3 hours? Because I heard
3 hours for 3 hours each day for 3 days.
for 3
So
days.
3 days,
Oh,
3
okay.
hours for March, three hours for 2 days in March, those are the APs,
Mhm.
and then 3 hours on April 5th for our principals.
So a total of 9 hours altogether, spread over 2 months,
Exactly,
March and April.
exactly.
It has on here, says training 2-day trainers, 3 hours per day,
Mhm.
4 days. That's a mistake. probably.
That's a mistake, it should be 3 days.
4
Should be
days.
March 9th and 10th, I believe, and April 5th, should be 3 days.
And this is not, it wasn't marked whether it's a new contract. I know it looks like a new, but there's nothing like new renewal, existing amendments, nothing there. Can you,
I'm gonna give you my version, because on mine is, so I don't know what that is, but it is a new contract. It is a new contract.
Did you had an event last week or the week before?
Last week, the student leadership,
Why you didn't tell me this on
we sent an invite to all of our board members.
Mm-hmm, because I
Absolutely.
did it.
there? You forgot me, you didn't put me on flag. All right, I'm ready to go.
I think it's marked new, it's just like where the X is at, is
Oh, okay.
not in the
Okay.
box. So, see,
Okay.
it's marked.
Okay.
It's not in the box.
Oh, yes.
And it's like district based, because I look at that, those details, so that I make sure we. Yeah.
And if it says 4, we'll fix it and make sure it's
On
on
that
that,
too.
it'll be 3 days.
3 days. And Dr. Debbie, I think I wrote
Debbie
this.
Irving.
Debbie, okay. Let's see Debbie somewhere. Any question? Okay, in the absence of question, it's about 6 o'clock or past 6 now, 6:26. Do you have a motion to recommend that for passage?
Motion.
So moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The ayes carry. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Hey, Dean,
Wait a
before we adjourn, can I ask everybody one favor? Just take 2 minutes. We have one of our new board members here. Would people mind introducing themselves? But can we just real quick go around and everybody introduce themselves? Tony, you want to?
Hi, I'm Tony Aiken. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Chair, for putting it on the calendar, inviting me.
Mm.
Happy to be here and ready to dig in and get to work. And look forward to working with everyone here. Seems like an impressive group. So thank you.
Welcome.
I'm Herman James, Chief Talent Officer. Good to meet you.
Pleasure.
Mr. TC, Executive Director of Finance.
I'm sure I know. Come on.
Al Kushner, I'm the clerk of the board.
Nice to see you again.
And I apologize, I should have been the one doing that before the president did that. So thank you so much. You know me, I've seen you before.
Yes.
Oh, 19.
You know me. Ah,
Nice to see you
nice to
again.
see you.
Scott Sutherland, Chief of Staff.
Nice to meet you.
Nicole Leone, Chief of Equity.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you, welcome.
Molly Henry, Director of Purchasing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Motion adjourned. Yeah, go ahead.
We can just.
All right, so do we have the motion motion, second, all in favor? Aye. Any oppositions, any abstentions? Thank you so much for your time.
I didn't see it. I gotta clear it up. Can you clear it up?
Thank you,
for me?
guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you clear it up for me?
Yeah. All right.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, Ms. O'Day.
Bye.
Good night,
Yeah.
Mr. Stevens.
She didn't send it to me, Ms. O'Day.
Yeah.
We're all on email, chain, whatever, so
So
I can
this,
come by on Friday.
And I think it was a
Good night.
5:30.
Yeah, it's probably
So
still going on.
it would be, it's my email.
I don't know, what is that, PCTA?
yeah, but I put it on the email.
What's that?
So I was checking
This,
off what we here, like what we already have.
Hiring,
Yeah, so the
only
only
Chief of Staff.
I was